Good evening, you're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show this evening, Priyanka Gandhi breaks her silence on husband Robert Vadra, says she's pained by how her family is being ridiculed. But does Priyanka need to answer much more on her husband's business deals? Is Robert Vadra a legitimate issue in these elections? Also, Narendra Modi breaks his silence on the hateful comments of senior party leader Giriraj Singh and Pravin Togadia, calling them petty and irresponsible. But were the comments they made just petty? Does Mr. Modi need to do more to distance himself from fringe elements? But first tonight, breaking her silence on husband Robert Vadra, Priyanka Gandhi today said he was being targeted politically and that she's pained by how her family is being ridiculed. Invoking her grandmother Indira Gandhi, Priyanka said she had learnt that from her that truth becomes courage and that she would fight back. But the BJP has questioned Priyanka's silence on Vadra's controversial business dealings. Vadra, whether he likes it or not, has become a big poll issue.
Her husband in the line of fire, Priyanka Gandhi broke her silence and launched this counter-offensive.
बहुत बातें होती हैं, कठोर बातें, मेरे परिवार को जलील करना, मेरे पति के बारे में बहुत बातें कही जाती हैं। मुझे दुख होता है। इस बात का नहीं है कि मैं अपने बच्चों को रोज समझाती हूँ कि एक दिन सत्य आगे आएगा, क्योंकि मैंने इंदिरा जी से सीखा था कि जब सच्चाई दिल में होती है तो एक कवच बन जाता है छाती के अंदर। जितना जलील करते हैं उतना मजबूत बनता है।
Robert Vadra's controversial Haryana land deals found barely a mention in her speech, raising questions about whether this even qualifies as a defense.
They have used my husband to make this political attack, and it has gone on for 2 years, and I feel very strongly about it.
In this bitter battle of votes, Mr. Vadra has become a major campaign issue.
जी का तो सुना था, अब जीजा जी का भी सुन लिया।
जिस दिन मेरे हाथ में बात आएगी, उस दिन मैं जमाई बाबू को जेल जरूर भिजवाऊंगी।
The opposition says that Priyanka's defense for Robert may be her first, but still very weak.
पत्नी है भाई, भारतीय पत्नी है, उनको दुख होना जायज है, लेकिन दुख तो जनता को होता है। क्या पर विश्वास किया आपने, देश के साथ क्या धोखा किया?
Till now, the task of defending Robert Vadra was given to senior Congress leaders. Now that the member of the family has finally spoken, the Congress hopes it will bolster their defense mechanism for the party. With Madan Lal and Ramesh Verma in Raebareli, this is Anand Zanane for NDTV.
Well, is Robert Vadra a legitimate poll issue? The fact is that his business deals have come under a cloud and there are many questions that need to be answered. And I'll take that question first to Shahid Siddiqui, who joins us tonight. Shahid Siddiqui, do you believe that with Priyanka Gandhi speaking out the way that she has finally today on the issue of her husband, that the issue of Robert Vadra will now become a bigger poll issue, or that the BJP may actually soften up? Which way do you think this is going to go?
I think it will become a bigger poll issue because now everything will be discussed. What was his position in 2008? What he owned in earlier? Now, what are his assets? Now, all that will come into the open. There will be a lot of discussion on that because, unfortunately, even in the past, Mrs. Indira Gandhi had to carry the cross of Sanjay Gandhi's Maruti, episode. Morarji Desai had to answer for Kanti Desai's, indulgence in various things. So, you see, you just can't make this statement that you are being targeted. Now, if that is said, then BJP will try to prove what happened and others will come out. Media will also look into it. So this will become a much larger issue. She shouldn't have, really touched this issue, in my opinion.
Mr. Ketkar, what do you think? Do you believe that it was important for Priyanka Gandhi to speak out? After all, Robert Vadra has been a very key focus of Mr. Modi's speeches and the speeches and attacks of other BJP leaders. Was it important for her to speak out? And if she did, do you believe she needs to take questions also on Mr. Vadra's dealings?
In a way, it is good that she confronted the issue squarely, because for too long this kind of insinuation is going on. And as Mr. Siddiqui very correctly said, this is not new. This has been going on even before Sanjay Gandhi was mentioned during Indira Gandhi's anti-Indira Gandhi campaign. Even during Indira Gandhi's, before Sanjay Gandhi, Firoz Gandhi's relationship was also questioned by the media. At that time, the media was not so intense at that time, so widespread, but it has been happening. It is not something new. Only thing is, it has been debased further. And the attackers as well as the defenders both do not provide the necessary evidence either to acquit themselves or to accuse or to prove the allegation as right. So I think in a way, Priyanka has shown, I can say, even courage to face the question squarely. Now, whether this is a legitimate issue or not, which is your first question, I think there are so many illegitimate issues have, particularly in this campaign, have come forward. So it is very, very difficult to say what is decent and what is indecent, what is legitimate and what is illegitimate. So as Siddiqui said, these are unfortunately, you can say, but inevitable issues that will be raised again and again. Sometimes they will grow bigger, sometimes they'll grow smaller.
May I ask you, Mr. Ketkar, is it illegitimate to question how the son-in-law of Sonia Gandhi was able to see a massive increase in his wealth when the UPA, from the time the UPA came to power? Does that not merit at least an investigation, if nothing else?
Of course it does. Of course it does. Now the question is whether that investigation is part of the election campaign or part of the certain machinery is a different issue. But during election, particularly in these days, these questions will become inevitable questions.
Okay, let me take that question to Pawan Verma first. I'm going to come to the BJP and the Congress at the end because I know you will continue to spar the most. So it's only fair I go to the other panelists first tonight. Pawan Verma, Kumar Ketkar says it was courageous of her to confront this. Shahid Siddiqui not so sure it was the smartest thing to do. What do you think?
No, I don't believe it's avoidable. I am not saying what is the truth in the allegation. There is a judicial process which must take its place, but if you are so much in prominence as a result of your proximity to the first family of the Congress, and if you have somewhat flamboyantly acquired wealth of this magnitude, and if this issue has been raised even before the poll process has begun, and in a very highly personalized political campaign, how can you avoid this issue? After all, the Congress also raised the issue of Mr. Modi's marriage. And I remember in the time of Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the opposition used to take pot shots at Ranjan Bhattacharya, his son-in-law, foster son-in-law. So the question is, the Congress cannot avoid or evade this issue. Whether it should be taken up is part of the entire tenor of this campaign, which has become very personalized.
But is Mr. Vadra a personal issue if he has benefited allegedly from land deals by a Congress-ruled state government? It's way more than a personal issue, isn't it, Mr. Verma?
I think it is a public issue because people have the right to ask questions. Whether there is any criminality or illegality in what has happened must be dispassionately examined by a judicial process. But questions to raise questions in this kind of a volatile democracy cannot be prohibited, nor is it realistic to expect that it will not be.
Okay, let me take this question then to Abhishek Singhvi. Mr. Singhvi, the Congress has maintained for a while now that Mr. Robert Vadra is a private individual. And so for a while we didn't see official spokespersons really jumping to his defense. Now that Priyanka Gandhi has broken her silence today, we also saw the Congress officially defending Mr. Vadra as well. So can we first make up our mind on whether he's a private individual or not?
See, there are several aspects. First of all, Nidhi, I think it's futile to try to lament or give any principle to this, because in a democracy in such heated moments, I don't think anybody can be stopped. Howsoever despicable, howsoever dastardly and howsoever low sounding the words they use, it's going to happen. So I agree, it's not realistic to expect it to end itself. Secondly, there's nothing about official and unofficial. This is a broadside. It is linked to, they are trying to link it to the Congress electoral fortunes. They are making an election issue. So Congress has every right to respond. Thirdly, what I find objectionable about it, Nidhi, is something different. These have been in the public domain earlier. The land deals took place many years ago. The BJP did nothing about even raising them. When Mr. Khemka raised it, as official government report came, PILs were filed and PILs were dismissed Of course, I don't expect the sub judice rule to apply anymore, because when the Supreme Court is hearing matters also, people are raising things in the media. PILs are dismissed. Now, today, nobody wants to go into the nitty-gritty. After the whole thing is over and nobody has filed an actual criminal complaint, nobody has gone to challenge in the Supreme Court when the PILs are already dismissed, you simply by a side wind in the middle of election campaign, obviously by innuendo and trying to heap all kinds of scorn and taunts, as is Mr. Modi's style, raise this. I think ultimately the people will be the judge of this.
No, but is it
And
just
ultimately
innuendo
the
or the
people
fact
realize
that
the
there hasn't really been a fair probe into Mr. Vadra's dealings? I mean, you had a committee set up by the Haryana government, which, I mean, frankly is a Congress government, which and you know that Mr. Khemka has been challenging that from day one. So does there need to be an objective, independent probe at least into his business deals in order for there to be clarity on this once and for all?
Every allegation has been answered by the 3 or 4 principal stakeholders. It was not a political issue till the elections came over. The first answer in writing was by the Haryana government about the details. The second answer in writing was by DLF. The third answer in writing was by Mr. Vadra. Thereafter, PILs were filed and dismissed. It was not taken further. The BJP is welcome to go and file an FIR. How do you justify, Nidhi, that the Uma Bharti every day, day in and out, say will hang him on the nearest pole? Does she think we are in a banana republic? They were doing the same thing for Bofors. I want to ask you, let us forget us. Prior to 2004, from 86 to 2004, how many years of non-Congress government were there? More than 10. Did they do anything in Bofors concrete? They did only innuendo, attack, implication.
No, but,
did they
but where was the fair? Where was the fair, independent, credible investigation into Mr. Vadra's land dealings and his business deals? I'm asking you that. Where was that fair probe?
Look, if you have a problem about a fair investigation, if you don't think that the Supreme Court, by the way, which I will quote, said that merely because he's related to a family, you are not to treat them as sinners, and dismiss the PIL which had identical allegations. If you are not still satisfied, please go and file an FIR.
Okay, I'll take that to Pinky Anand
Please
of the
start a
BJP.
proceeding.
I'll take that to Pinky Anand of the
point
BJP. Is this innuendo?
People have made careers over Bofors, but they did not get a single thing.
Okay, so is this without proof, is this without evidence, is what Abhishek Singhvi and the Congress
I find it very amusing when Mr. Singhvi says basically that the fact that this was not raised earlier, as if this is an estoppel that this issue cannot be raised, particularly with the public. The fact that there has been no independent inquiry, that is subject matter of public scrutiny. Today it is the public who is to judge basically when a member of the Congress family, the first family of Congress, has indulged in complete criminal activities. You are talking about a person who's made from 1 lakh to 300 crores in 4 years, which is recorded. Mr. Amit Khemka has been transferred and retransferred several over times and several charge sheets filed against him. So I don't know why Mr. Singhvi thinks that just because an issue has not been raised, is his argument this, if I understand correctly, to say you didn't raise it earlier so you can't raise it now. The question is he guilty, is he not guilty? There has been no inquiry which puts this matter to rest. The fact of his fortunes...
But the BJP has also made up its mind on his guilt. You are already saying he'll be sent to jail. You're not saying let's have a probe.
Nidhi, nobody is saying, aside from one or two statements made by one or two leaders who have made this statement, it has not been the BJP's stand that this should be. Of course, Uma Bharti ji has made this statement, that's her statement. BJP is simply saying a person is guilty. Please go into the details. Why has this happened? Why has he acquired lands and amassed fortunes, whether it's in Delhi, whether it's in Haryana, whether it is in Rajasthan? Why has land use been converted just to suit the conveniences when there have been Congress governments? Why have incentives been given on lands which Robert Vadra has acquired? We need to get this answer. And what answer do you get from Priyanka? You get an answer only to say this, that we are being targeted. Now, how long can the Gandhi family carry on this targeted philosophy instead to say, no, he's not guilty, he's not done this, this is not the deal.
Abhishek Singhvi, does Priyanka Gandhi actually need to answer many more questions on her husband's business dealings?
Look,
now that she's spoken on it, she's opened herself up to questions.
Let me tell you that Mr. Vadra, DLF, Haryana government and the Congress has answered much more.
The Congress will always answer, but the Congress's answers are not going to be satisfactory.
Exponential, please, I didn't interrupt you. The exponential increase by giving of largesse to Mr. Adani. This crocodile tears and bleeding heart theory doesn't
Are you
work when
talking
the
about
BJP
Adani or are you
Parivar,
talking
Mr.
about
Modi's
Robert
Parivar,
Vadra?
Yes, of course we are.
No, but are you talking about Robert Vadra and you explaining that, or are you explaining something else?
1 rupee. See what happens when we raise Adani.
No, question is not
rupee.
that. What
But
you
we're
raise?
not talking
Anandibel
about
Patel.
Adani.
We
We're
are not
talking
talking about
Vadra.
that. That
Well,
doesn't give your case
when
any
you
better.
talk
You
of
talk about Robert
land
Vadra,
deals,
explain
when
that.
In the case of Robert Vadra, there is not a single iota that he did anything with the land.
The
In the case of
Corporation
Adani,
Bank
you have
itself
direct
denies
proof
that any
of
such
selling
loan
and
was given to
reselling.
Robert Vadra.
Reselling.
Lands
Corporation Bank,
purchased
there is no loan, it is in writing.
from
It
a
is in
person
writing.
who's been a
What is
small
the
time
issue?
person
Dr.
Robert
Singhvi,
when the
Vadra
Congress
bought land
gave
in
him
Bikaner.
power.
Abhishek Singhvi, how do you
What
feel?
about Adani?
What about let me ask you about the Wall Street Journal
Is there a
piece
single answer?
that
You are
very
saying
much
about
like
answers.
others in the Indian media went into Mr. Vadra's dealings, and you can see that ever since the UPA came to power, his his business has tremendously grown in a single year, 350%.
What was his business before? Nidhi, what was his business
Exactly,
before?
exactly.
Proportionately,
Yes.
has the BJP, Mr. Modi, answered any proportionate number of questions about Mr.
No,
Adani?
that is a separate issue.
Have they answered
That's
as well
like
as they've answered
equating
about Mr.
2002
Vadra?
with 1984. Let's talk about Mr. Vadra.
No,
My
that
question
was
is,
equating.
what do
These
you
are
say
obviously
to these reports
crocodile
about
tears.
how his wealth has increased so much? Does that not require at least an investigation? How did Mr. Vadra's wealth increase
Why?
the
There
way
has
that
been,
it did?
Mr. Adani has not faced a PIL. He has not faced a
Mr.
government
Singhvi,
inquiry.
why
from
are you
Gujarat
diverting
Government
from the
Committee.
subject to come on to
Why-
answer?
why are
What
you
has
avoiding
happened with
the
Mr.
Adani
Vadra?
issue?
Why is his fortune
I have
business
given
with
you
the
the
UPA?
answer on Vadra. Why are you not answering a single sentence about Adani?
Because that is
Give
not
me
the
a
subject
single answer
matter.
about the Gujarat Government Committee. His wealth has increased 10 times more in a shorter span of time.
Does
If
that
you are
help
so
you with Vadra
concerned
to say this is
about
what the
crony
consequence is?
capitalism, you should have been concerned about this.
I
Mr.
think the
Under
fact
Mr.
that you are
Modi's
not
nose,
answering
Mr.
itself
Anandibel
speaks
Patel,
volumes.
Her right-hand minister, his right-hand minister has given land at throwaway prices.
Abhishek Singhvi, you're
His
completely
share
deflecting
price has
from my
exponentially
question.
increased.
You're completely deflecting from. I'm asking you
Nidhi,
very
Nidhi,
simply.
allow a
Okay,
comment.
Pavan Verma
Nidhi, allow
wants
a
to come in.
comment.
Yes, then to Shahid. Yes.
Nidhi, between
I have given you
mechanical
answers on Supreme
legality-
Court order, on
Is that your only answer to see a
Pavan
PIL
Verma
is
said
the answer
this.
you've got
Pavan
for
Verma,
Adani.
Pavan Verma.
Please
Yeah.
allow,
Yeah.
I would
please
also like to
allow
come in.
another comment.
Yeah.
Nidhi, between mechanical legality and ethicality, public perception of ethicality, there is always sometimes a gulf. Now, whether it's the allegations against Mr. Vadra or counter allegations against Mr. Adani, you cannot prevent public perception of whether this exponential increase in wealth has been ethically achieved, even if legally you may have fulfilled the mechanical provisions of law. So people have the right to ask questions. And at the time of elections, these questions become far more pointed and unfortunately perhaps overly personalized. The right way to settle this is to have a proper probe
Exactly.
and to see whether this matter has any weightage or not. But to defend it mechanically and to defend it particularly by citing another allegation against the leader of another party, this is a very, very fatal flaw of an argument between the Congress and the BJP. You say 2002, they
I
point
said
to
the same thing.
1984. You point 1984, you point to 2002. There is a reason for the public to ask. Today, Priyanka Gandhi took the bull by its horn and said these are unjustified. It was a beginning, and perhaps we need a fairer and a complete probe.
Shahid Siddiqui, on this issue of Priyanka Gandhi, and we also see her playing a bigger role in a sense behind the scenes in the Congress campaign, not just her brother and her mother's campaign, but she is apparently taking more and more decisions for the party as well behind the scenes. Is Robert Vadra the Achilles heel of the Congress party today, the biggest Achilles heel? Is he the one factor that prevents the Congress from maybe bringing Priyanka more out into the open, because that is her weakness, that is the one thing that the Congress is most vulnerable on?
It is Priyanka who is vulnerable on the question of Robert Vadra, not the Congress. Congress actually heel is the corruption, the inflation and other issues which have been the main issues in this election. But on this issue, if Priyanka Gandhi has spoken and she is saying that we are being targeted, then she should come out and with the details and with the facts how this money was made. Was the government machinery used for it? Was inside information used for doing it? She should come out clean on it. And if she is not doing that, then she is in fact unnecessarily raising an issue and giving a chance to all the opponents to raise more and more questions. Up till now, it was just a few speeches by Mr. Modi. Now, even the media, which is not anti-Congress, will be forced to raise these issues as you are doing it today, and a lot of discussion will take place in coming week and days. So they have to come out clean with all the facts, all the details, otherwise they should not talk about it. This is going to hang around the Congress neck, and especially the first family's neck in this election, and it has happened in the past. In European democracies, American democracy, this would have been much more volatile issue if it was happening somewhere outside this country. In this country, we don't raise issues about families and about people around the families, which is I think is not very correct in a healthy democracy, but it has been happening and we have been accepting that, but things have to change.
Well, that's an important point. I'll take that to Mr. Ketkar before I come back to Abhishek Singhvi. That Mr. Ketkar, this election does mark that departure, doesn't it? As Shahid Siddiqui says, that in the past, generally families would not be targeted, the personal lives of political leaders would not be targeted. I don't think Robert Vadra is necessarily a personal issue. I disagree with that if there has been a favor given to him by a government. So it is very much a public issue. But what changed in this election, and how has Mr. Vadra then become so central to it?
Actually, earlier it used to be covert propaganda, grapevine propaganda, drawing room propaganda in all Delhi's political circles, and now it has become public. What was covert has become overt propaganda. So I don't think anybody can stop, and particularly in the vastly media-governed world, nobody can stop allegations, insinuations and innuendos. So let the probe be there, let the investigation be there, and all the probes and investigations, and if you have evidence that Mrs. Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra or Sonia Gandhi or anybody is trying to stop the investigation, is trying to create impediments in the investigation, then of course it becomes a major scandal. But if they have not stopped any investigation, if they have not stopped any probe, and if the probe has taken place or is going to take place, and which should take place, and whatever is true must come out. But I don't think that probe should be stopped, investigation should be stopped. Similarly, I cannot say that allegation, just because it is made, it is true. And so far, the entire campaign is that once you make an allegation, it is obviously a convinced kind of a thing, which I don't agree at all.
Except
and
that
therefore
in Mr. Vadra's case, Mr. Ketkar, should accept more than an allegation.
No, you are right.
There are numbers
but
on
I'm saying
paper.
you are right.
It came from Khemka,
Nidhi, I'm saying you are right. Nidhi, I'm saying you are right that Priyanka should be ready to answer all the questions. I'm telling you, I'm actually endorsing what you are saying.
So, Abhishek Singhvi, would Priyanka Gandhi be willing to take serious questions then on her husband rather than making these emotional appeals?
Why should she? She has faced many more PILs and questions and a Haryana government report, all three of which you seem to dismiss, which is 3 times
because
more than
Mr.
Adani has faced.
What do you expect me to say?
If the BJP, very well, what prevents the BJP? What prevents BJP from filing an FIR tomorrow and taking action in law? Why are they taking legal? Let them file a protest petition. Let them go and file a PIL. What else is required to be done? The justification has come. Look, let's get to the merits now.
Okay.
There are 2 or 3 allegations. One is sealing laws violated. Sealing laws violated. No. Caesar's wife doesn't mean that you imagine an insult and you start tilting at windmills. Let's look at the specifics. There is an allegation about sealing, land sealing. The report for the last 3 months, Vasundhara Raje government is trying to coax the Board of Revenue to find. They find that if you take the net purchases and net sales, at no point of time was the ceiling exceeded. Second is that the land purchased is undervalued. All the lands purchased have sale deed values much higher than the market values. Again, the Board of Revenue under Ms. Vasundhara Raje is furiously working for the last 4 or 5 months, have found nothing till now. What is all this people, these are political sticks to beat people with.
No, but again, if you talk about Rajasthan,
and you will have a reply.
Mr. Singhvi,
you will
notice, talk about
Rajasthan,
you have conversion of land use again. You have solar energy incentives being given to the land in
question. Never talk of specifics.
The specifics are this.
Please point out,
land
ask
use conversion,
Pinky Anand right now to ask any question and let her make it good, and I will answer in front of you. Nidhi is an open challenge. Please let's have a
Why should you
point,
answer? Now that she's spoken, she should answer.
I don't think
but then why?
it's a duel
You don't want
between
an
you and
answer.
anybody else.
You don't want a
Mr. Singhvi.
complaint. You don't want a Supreme Court dismissal.
No, what is the Supreme Court dismissal on a
Let
PI?
them go and
It is
file.
not that the criminal case has
No,
been
but he's
Then
saying,
ask
why
me.
don't you go
Then
file?
please file a
He's saying, why
complaint.
don't you all go file a
Go and
PI?
file a new PIL.
I
Go
did.
and file a new proceeding.
I-
Or ask me a question.
Let me
Please
just
ask me a
respond to
pointed
Mr. Singhvi
question
for a
about
minute
what is
to
the
say
problem
this,
with the
Nidhi,
deal.
that the question whether BJP
Let's
wants to
answer.
proceed to file an FIR or not is not the question. The question is action has to be taken.
Ah.
Probe has to happen. Mr. Singhvi's statement that the Congress government of Haryana has closed the report as if that is the final word on the subject. It is not. The question is today, it is the public scrutiny
We
which
must keep
requires an
having probes
answer.
because the
The
BJP
question is
asked
not
for it.
only what machinery should be utilized, whether we should file a criminal case, whether the public have a right to know, or whether Priyanka Gandhi can simply hide behind and say, I am
Nidhi,
being targeted,
the
my
cat
family is
is
being
out of the
targeted. Rahul Gandhi says my father
Yeah.
was killed,
I
therefore
think
I
what is
require
clear
sympathy. What
is
all
that
this
with
Nidhi,
about?
the
Priyanka
cat is out of
Gandhi-
the bag. I am challenging on your program, Nidhi, the BJP and Ms. Pinky Anand to point out any specific illegality. Let her be factual and specific, and I'll give the answer here and now.
Can you please explain
It's
to us
nothing
how
but
Mr.
innuendo,
Vadra's
cloud
assets went
and a
up
political
by
stick.
350% in a single year?
Let me answer this
After
to
the
you.
UPA came to
Anybody
power.
who
I'm just
knows
giving you one
that
example.
that land which are purchased, you are asking, not she. But
Yeah.
let me answer you.
What is the difference?
Land which is purchased in bulk in Barmaid and Bikaner 5, 6, 7 years ago, between 7, 8 and now, and then sold. Any property you buy in large tracts, your property value increases.
Was a land
To
use
make
changed
a
in this
profit on
question?
land is not a crime in this
Mr.
country.
Singhvi, was
What
a
is
land use
crime
changed
is
very conveniently for this
one
purpose?
minute, 1 minute,
Is it
1
a fact?
minute.
Is it a
Land
fact or
use,
not?
let
That
me
the
tell
land
you.
use was changed
Land use
from
inside
residential to
information was
commercial?
used
Let me
for
tell you.
this.
Let me tell you.
Is it a fact?
Land use
Is
is
it a
changed
fact
by
that land use
DLF.
was changed in
You're not
Haryana? Yes
Let
or
me
no?
explain to you.
You're not answering my question on how his wealth went up so exponentially.
You don't want an answer because you're scared of the answer. You're scared of the answer.
Who? I?
DLF has changed more land use in Haryana than any other developer over the last 50 years. There is an act of Haryana under which land use is changed. These huge colonies which you live in all over DLF phase 1, phase 2 and other areas don't happen without land use change. They had an agreement to sell or purchase with Mr. Vadra and they changed the land use. They've
Very
changed millions
conveniently,
of
the
acres
land
of
use
land
changes
earlier.
whenever Mr.
Abhishek
Vadra
Singhvi,
And
I have
that
one question for
increased
you.
land
I will
use
try this
is
again.
under an act of
It is a
parliament, under an act
question
of
that
state
the Wall
legislature.
Street Journal has raised in its
What is
latest
the
report.
illegality?
One
Let me
second,
ask you
one
the
second.
illegality.
The question
What is the illegality?
what is being asked is how someone like Mr. Vadra with an obscure business background suddenly saw his wealth blooming and increasing in the way that it did as soon as the UPA government came to power. Do you not
That's
think
too
that
vague a
questions
question.
will be asked about that?
That's
The
entrepreneurial
UPA government came in
energy.
power in 2004. 10 years is a long time. When you buy and sell land, there is the land values increase.
His
There
buying
is
and
not
selling
a
started in
single
2008,
specific
Mr.
illegality.
His wealth
which-
was about
which
8
even
crores in
today-
2008. It went up to 17.1 crores in 2009. This is in 1 year.
No, please,
And
that's too
60
general a
crores in
question.
2010.
You are not talking of a specific land deal.
No,
Please
no,
answer
I'm
a
just telling,
put a
these are
specific
the facts and
illegality.
figures that
How
have been
can I
out there in the
answer?
media.
How can I answer that somebody has earned so much over 10 years? How can one answer
Not
that?
somebody.
You point
Not
out
somebody.
illegality.
It is
then
Robert
answer it.
Vadra who's earned this.
No, please point out the illegality. Very well.
Is
Robert
it a fact,
Vadra,
Mr.
point
Singhvi,
out the
that the
illegality and answer
Corporation
it.
Bank,
Okay,
is
yeah.
it a fact that the Corporation
Yes.
Bank has denied
Yes.
that any money was given to Robert Vadra for the purchase?
Absolutely right. Corporation Bank never gave any money.
So therefore,
And-
this was
and
the argument
Corporation
given
Bank
by
is
Robert
absolutely
Vadra that the money was
Miss
advanced by
Anand,
Corporation
no,
Bank?
not at all. Have you read Mr. Vadra's balance sheet, Miss Anand? You are going by newspaper
No, I'm
reports.
afraid I don't have access to
Mr.
his
Vadra's
balance
balance
Okay,
sheet.
okay. Listen,
Mr. Vadra's
I have
balance
to
sheet,
leave it
which
at
is a
that on
public
this
document,
particular
points out.
issue. But I think
that
what has
there is no
happened
loan.
is what has happened is that with Priyanka Gandhi speaking out on this,
All-
it could be a smart move. As Kumar Ketkar says, maybe it was courageous. But on the other hand, it does open up the Congress
It's a
and
shoot
Priyanka
and
Gandhi
scoot
to
policy.
a lot more questions on Robert Vadra and his dealings. Mr. Modi has been raising it. But I think what Shahid Siddiqui is saying is right. This is going to probably become an even bigger poll issue rather than recede into the background now.